My
I
title.
don't know what
Oh, hello. And we are here for our next session. We have Impact Market and Cello, and they'll be doing a fireside chat. And I'll let them take it from here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Shinju. So I am Brindley Lear from C Labs, General Counsel at C Labs, working on Cello. And I'm here today, this morning, this evening, whatever time it is for you, with Marco Barboza with Impact Market. So we have the next half hour to dig into the work of Impact Market. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, Marco. Let me do a quick introduction. I'd love to start with that. Just by talking a bit about you and your journey. And I'm going to read from my notes because you've done quite a lot. So you have a degree in computer science and technology. You became a first-time entrepreneur while studying, so while you were still in school, by developing a system to collect and convert cooking oil into biodiesel. And you didn't just do this in the shadows. You were actually awarded a prize by Microsoft for your work. You were named one of Forbes 30 Under 30 in the category of social entrepreneurs for the development and impact of your venture called eSolidar. And eSolidar was a platform to help charities fundraise online. So 30 Under 30, impressive. I'm too old for that, so good job, you.
I'm not 30 anymore.
And then recently you started Impact Market, which is what we're going to talk about today. Impact Market, a decentralized poverty alleviation technology that unlocks unconditional basic income and financial services to more than 20,000 people living in the most vulnerable communities around the world, empowering them out of extreme poverty. So this is what I think is so interesting. And what we're going to talk about is what this program is and then what you've seen. But before we get there, my first question is, what made you interested in merging technology with socially conscious development? Let's start there.
All right. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Yeah, for me, technology is a tool that can be used for goods or sometimes, unfortunately, is used for bad. I think that technologies should serve the humanity and improve lives of people. And I always look at that because I love technology as a way to empower human potential. That's why I started with a way to convert cooking oil into biodiesel using technology for that. That was more about environmental, but then I decided that if I want to reach more people and create a wider impact, it should be something related with the web. Initially, it was Web 2. That's where eSolidar came through. So eSolidar was more about helping or supporting different causes and facilitating how people that want to help can do that in different ways. So charity auctions with celebrities, like backstage experiences, crowdfunding, getting nonprofits on board. But using Web 2 to do that, especially to reach the most vulnerable and to make sure that money reaches the end of the people that actually need, that don't have any other kind of access to financial services. That was kind of the challenge. And I tried to achieve that with Web 2, but kind of couldn't. But now I think that blockchain and what it brings as a new level for the web, I think now we kind of have a solution to actually reach millions of people that actually need and unlock them from the poverty trap. That's like
And this
That's
goes
what
to
I
my
think
next question.
technologies. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to my next question because I think it's going right to that. So, we've talked in the past about your interest in poverty alleviation. You've been interested in this, I want to say about 8 years, but maybe we talked about that a year ago. So, maybe more than 9 years. But you've been really focused on this. And it wasn't until you had this new technology talking about Web3 and blockchain where, from what you've said in the past, where you could really do something about it. So, tell me more about that. What makes this technology uniquely suited to alleviate poverty?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've been always struggling with, and that makes a lot of confusion to me, is that kind of the human potential and success is very correlated with the coordinates where that person born. And that's kind of very unfair, because I'm very lucky to born in Portugal, where there are kind of good conditions to live, and there is quite freedom and financial services and opportunities. But I'm lucky as well for not being born on Congo or Zimbabwe or Somalia or Venezuela or any of those places where I will be constrained not only by the government but by the currency, and also I will not be able to have a bank account, or it will be extremely difficult for that. For a lot of time, I thought that the problem might be on raising funds. So maybe there is no enough funds being raised for those organizations that are helping those people. But then it brings, as it is kind of centralized, it brings a lot of inefficiencies and a lot of opacity. So even if, yeah, I try to do that with eSolidar, but like, first you need to scale, for example, to a new country. You have to go there, you have to set up a subsidiary, maybe a bank account, and then you have somehow to process all the funds, and then you'll have to transfer those funds through a traditional system or to buy in to those people. And even if you could transfer them the money, they need to have a bank account. And in which kind of money you'll give believers to people in Venezuela? Where did you get those believers? Can you set up a company there? No, you can't. Can you send money there? No, you can't. So even in the places where you can send the money there is no transparency, and you don't know all the points or all the intermediaries, not only financially but even also after the money goes out of the bank account. So for donors, it's kind of, from the moment that the money goes out of your bank account, it's like you have to believe that it will do a good job. And then you have to get auditors, and you have to have like to believe in that all the impact is being created, and then try to measure that somewhere, or have people there. With blockchain, it kind of bypasses everything, and to scale is kind of, we don't need to have like a company anywhere. Anyone in the world can have access to it, regardless of the country or the politics or the banks on the place. So in this case, it's like with Impact Market, we are now in more than 20 developing countries, and we are still going to places where not even drinkable water there are. So like we actually became the catalyst in some places to bring internet, bring electricity, bring smartphones, and bring funds for those people, and having like the factories around those communities to help contribute to those to that.
Yeah.
So this became completely decentralized, and it's interesting that people kind of, most of them is the first time they are accessing money in a digital form, and even like people with more than 80 years old are using that. So it's not only the first time they are using a financial service, it's the first time they are using blockchain. But we don't even say that blockchain. It's just an app that has dollars, but it's a different kind of dollars.
So they're receiving on their smartphone, they're receiving this value, and it's like you can roll out the infrastructure along with the value. And if you're receiving it, you just know that you have this value on your mobile phone, and you can, when you talk about bypassing, go ahead, please.
Yeah, when you bypass is like, there is also a lot of young people that we are supporting, and they become very curious about what is this, how is possible I'm receiving this money and I can transact this, and how is this possible. So they start learning more about what's the technology behind this, and as soon as they understand that is a technology that not even their government or banks or whatever is actually their own, and no one can take it from them, they become much more excited, and that kind of empowered them. Other effects, like, because a lot of people in those communities are receiving a small amount, they kind of level them up, and they come together to. There are some communities where cello dollar is actually like the most used currency now, and people create small funds to help on fixing the streets, or digging a hole to get drinkable water, or even to support young entrepreneurs. So they kind of created, with all the UBI from everyone, a small fund that every time they get UBI, they give a little to that fund to back other projects. So, we have been seeing also with the argument power against the politicians is also very interesting to see, because now the politicians go there to try to convince them to vote because they promise to fix the street or to give them money or to get their lives better. But then they say, okay, but now we have this UBI from a company that we never heard about, and they are not asking for anything. So these guys are doing much more than you ever can do. So now the kind of the discussion is a little in the other side. So, for example, in Brazil, we have the politicians that are applying to become kind of so the candidates are actually also supporting those communities, because they are trying to get their votes, but now they cannot get their votes with promises because people are already kind of in a different position of their lives. The same with merchants. So merchants, we see a lot of impact after more or less, like, if there is like more than 100 people in the same community that are getting UBI, like the dynamics started kind of to change, because those local merchants is not like big merchants as we are used to. It's just kind of a small place in the streets that people sell like vegetables and whatever. And actually, those merchants cannot afford to do not accept cello dollar now, because people go to the places where they accept it, and most of these places dollar is stronger than the currency they are using. So there is a lot of demand for dollars. Even people that are not receiving UBI are trying to buy those dollars, or in a way to cash out those dollars from the beneficiaries. And another thing is that, for example, now we use Valora, and Valora provides also kind of earn interest on balance. So that's another thing that they never had access to. So you can earn interest on dollars on your balance. Like, so more people in the community wants to have access to that. So, and the easier way to get access to dollars is by trying to buy those dollars from the beneficiaries. Even the merchants provide like cash out and apply a small commission, because they see the value on that. And if when they are kind of saving the money, they are making more money, and they are making in dollars. So that's kind of
the cycle, at the beginning, a prosperity cycle. It sounds like,
at the beginning, it's just like, at the beginning, the only threshold we need to pass is the trust. So people trust that what they are seeing on the wallet is actually dollars and it's actually money. So usually there is a process of cash out like 2 or 3 times. So people, okay, this is dollars, this is real money. And then they can buy also Amazon gift cards. So they, as soon as they understand that's money and that's dollars, it's like there is no need for cash out because it's much easier for me to transfer directly to you. It's almost free, it's direct. I just need your phone number or your wallet address. So cash out becomes kind of not needed, and the people just transact among themselves.
Right. And then it seems like you get to what we really want money to do, which is to have velocity, which is to bring opportunities to community. And with these secondary effects, it's really interesting. We've talked about transparency, and we'll come back to that. 2, we've talked about just civic and political engagement. Right now, you have a group of folks that have more of a voice, I think, in their politics because they're in a different bargaining position, right? They can start asking for more for their politicians. And how great is that in terms of just civic engagement? And then we see just more opportunity in the economy. I want to go back to something before we also touch on transparency. And that is when we talk about UBI, Universal Basic Income or Unconditional Basic Income, you talked about reaching 20,000 people around the world, but how much money are we really talking about? How much money are we talking about per day on average? Just to give people a sense of that.
Yeah, it's less. So now the average is less than 50 cents a day. So for us, this kind of looks like there is not. It's not a big thing. But for people living in, like Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Venezuela, even in Brazil, in the favelas, that's a lot of money. And for example, I can share here if you can see the screen.
Please.
This is kind of like how much was distributed so far, 1.3 million. How many beneficiaries are currently active? How much the UBI is during on average? But then, and this is how much they are collecting per day. So because beneficiaries, they claim we don't send the money; they claim the money from the smart contracts. But I can explain a little better how it works. And here is where are the beneficiaries. So we started recently in Afghanistan. We have a lot in Brazil, Venezuela, Colombia, Peru as well, Nigeria, Mozambique. But for example, we started in Yemen and Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, for example, and you can see here more or less where people are kind of collecting the money in India as well, in the Philippines. And here are kind of the different communities. So you can see, like, for example, this community has an allowance of half a dollar per day, is $1 a day. But when you look actually what they're claiming, it's much lower because the way we have this set up is, so there are much more kind of how much volume they are making, how many transfers they are making, how many different people they are reaching out. But the thing is that the way we set up is each community is a smart contract with some rules, and then people can claim funds from that smart contract or from the community contract where they belong. Usually we work with local charities, and they are the ones selecting which people can get access to that UBI. They have to wait at least 24 hours to claim. But the more they claim, for example, it slightly increases the time they have to wait to claim again. So when people don't actually need the money, they don't claim right away because they know they have a full amount that they can claim, so they can save the rest. So one of the things that we measure, and it's on that dashboard, is a kind of a sustainability index. So we measure like when people on average can claim, and when they actually claim. So initially we see they are claiming right after when they can, but over time we see that time is kind of okay. Maybe I don't need to claim now. I claim in a few hours, and then you see that that difference of time being increases, meaning that the urgency for the UBI is decreasing. So this is kind of one of the things that we measure.
I loved how you showed us the dashboard because we wanted to come back to transparency. What is so different about this versus just Web 2.0 tools is when you go and contribute to Impact Market, you can actually see all of this working in real time. You fund a smart contract and then you see how it is allocated. So what you showed us, that isn't just what you see behind the scenes. This is perfectly available to the public. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And we are, so in this case, it's like we are now improving how to measure life quality and so social and economic development. With this transparency, you can measure economic development because you can see volume, transactions, and how it grows, and with how many different addresses they are transacting with. We can also identify merchants, so you can see like which merchants they are using more, or how the money is flowing. So you can kind of understand what's economic development, but now we are putting in place ways to measure life quality improvement. So it's kind of through surveys, so people can say on my safety, education, health, nutrition, education, about my children, if they now can go to school or not. So now we are putting in place those kind of indicators, so we can have a better notion that, or the correlation, like if the volume and number of transactions are growing and the overall life quality that they are answering is growing as well, we can have a kind of a correlation. Then, okay, if we go to a community, 100 people, you can kind of then predict what could happen using other communities kind of around.
Right.
So that's kind of where we are trying to move forward. And also UBI is just kind of the first layer to fight poverty, because UBI is great for adoption and retention. So like it was much easier for us than we expected to go to a community and a local charity, and we didn't have to explain kind of a lot of blockchain or whatever, just the app, there's dollars. So we just kind of show them, you just click this button, you have this wallet, it's very easy to create an account in this wallet, and then they teach each other how to use it. Even the younger generation teach the older generation. So it kind of brings all the community together because they are kind of in the same level playing field. We have a lot of communities that are saying that there is no more begging on the streets. Kids are not in the streets so often anymore. Now they can go to school. Their farms are now, they have some money to buy seeds and to actually irrigate, because now it's very difficult in some places they have to wait for the raining, and if there is no raining, there is like it's very difficult for them to get food. But one thing that I want to emphasize is that poverty is a real trap on human potential and human development, because when you're in the poverty, and there is a reason why it's the first self-sustainable the first sustainable development goal, is because kind of there is a lot of human potential that should be kind of unleashed, and it's not, because people are trapped, or most of the cases because they don't have access to financial services. They cannot get a loan, they cannot get money from outside, they cannot send money, and just by unlocking that and enabling that people to not keep thinking about where I'm going to sleep, how can I feed my children, how many jobs I need to have or looking for, or even if there are jobs. So when you take that blockers from your head, it enables you as human to try to start thinking about the medium long term, and to try to making plans. And because you are not alone in that community, there are hundreds of other people in the same situation. It brings kind of all the people together to try to how we will improve our village, how we will improve our community, what is needed. Okay, let's put a little of each one on these funds or on these savings. So if there is kind of a tragedy or something, or if someone really needs to go to the hospital, so they have that kind of money for, and it's all about the community. Actually, like some of the in a lot of communities, like they don't have smartphones, so we work with Kotani Pay. So through a to a feature phone without access to internet, they just put some codes and they get the money on their M-Pesa directly. But we see also like other beneficiaries collecting money to buy smartphones for other people that they believe they need it to join. And another effect is like for most of these people is the first time they are dealing with technology itself, with a smartphone, and they start to realize, okay, the access to internet and to more information and communication. So it changes not only like the reality or the economics or the life quality, but also the curiosity and the knowledge of the community. So there is a lot of kind of layers that this impacts. So we are going for UBI first, but then we want to provide free access to microcredit, collective savings, credit delegation, other kind of mechanisms that can empower people to start their own businesses. We have in some refugee camps, like there was like a couple that created a beauty salon in a refugee camp with the money of the UBI. So they create, well, it's just kind of, well, for our, when you see that, that's kind of,
it's beautiful, right? I mean, once we move from this moment,
rural,
once we move from, right. It's beautiful because once we move from survival, we can actually innovate as people and as communities. I mean, this is what you're unlocking. I mean, as a parent myself, I've been lucky enough, as you said earlier on, just the luck of where you were born. I'm lucky that I get to practice law and make all of these contributions. But if I were just focused on feeding my children, that is all I would think about. That is all I would think about. That would be my full existence. And how much more we can tap into for contribution.
Yeah. Exactly. And most of the places, like the children are just in the streets. The mothers don't have time to figure out, like, like maybe sometimes they just need to spend a little more time with the kids, or having more time to learn new skills, or to take to teach their kids at the same time. So so yeah, we have been seeing like impact on a lot of things that we didn't expect us the first time. We have communities, they draw our logo in their houses, in their streets, and they have megaphones talking about us. Because it's like, for them, initially it was very difficult for them to understand, why are you giving us money for free and we don't need to give it back? So they started also to understand about the concept of UBI, and then how is this money reaching us if there is no other way for why? So they start learning about blockchain. Some of them in the younger generation now are learning blockchain, are using some of the UBI to go online and bring some courses and learn about a lot of stuff, because they love, they know that technology is enabling them to do that, which is very interesting.
It's great. You are getting lots of love in the comments for what you're talking about. So it's great to see that. We're down to about 2 minutes, and I want to make sure that folks know how they can learn more about Impact Market, how they can make donations if they'd like to, how they can get involved. I think there's a lot of interest in the comments. And I just want to come back to, we talked about what this technology enables, the transparency. UBI is just the beginning. This is really about using this technology to unlock human potential. So two final questions. One, how can people get involved? Where can they donate? And what makes you the most excited in the next 12 months?
Okay, so people can donate like Cello dollars directly to any community they care about if they go through our website or to our app. In our app, they can see stories from the communities, and also they can see also in our website. For the next year, we would like to reach like 1 million beneficiaries. Within the next 10 years, we would like to be one of the biggest contributors to eradicate extreme poverty in the world. For that, we have different stages of our roadmap. eventually we want to create our own kind of currency that is not kind of pegged to the dollar or anything, so we can actually become universal basic income, because for now we are unconditional. There is a difference there, but there can be a discussion for another time. But anyone can donate, and because we are about to launch our DAO and token, so if you donate now, you will be part of the air grab. That as soon as our token is available, you can get tokens because you have donated in the past. And after we launch the token and the DAO, we will have an impact farming mechanism. So we reward donors. So as you donate, you get our tokens, and you will be able to participate in the governance of the system. We want this to become ultimately free, open, and a public good, where anyone, regardless of where they live, they can have access and benefit from it.
Oh, this is just fantastic. Every time I talk with you, Marco, it is inspiring, and I just love the work you're doing. I love that I can participate,
it's also inspiring
wonderful
for us to receive all the videos and everything. And now we have we have children kind of drawing some stuff. We will put that as NFTs, and then kind of a way so you can buy a drawing from a kid and supporting their community at the same time. So we are trying to, every time they send videos to us they do t-shirts with our name and everything, we got surprised and thought, we never expected that this kind of behavior would happen. So we also keep learning and get the kind of very impressed, because like blockchain and UBI still themes that are kind of skeptical. So, and there is not a lot of studies about the impacts, especially on those kind of very vulnerable communities. So we are also learning about that, and we are also very impressed about sometimes like how 50 cents a day can change
change whole communities. Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful discussion. We are rooting for your next 10 years and the next 1 million users.
It will be amazing.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being a part of this conversation.
Yeah, this was fantastic. A wonderful way to end our day. So we'll be kicking off our first session tomorrow at 7 a.m. Pacific, and we look forward to seeing you guys all there. And thanks again for participating.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.